Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I am doing the book reviewer tag, which I was tagged in by Chloe at Chloe Reads Books ages ago. I think it was last year, so sorry Chloe, I'm so slow at doing tags. But I really enjoyed this. I really enjoyed Chloe's version, which I'll leave in the description, and the original was made by Read a Book Gem, who I will also leave linked in the description along with the questions, so if you guys want to do this you can. It's got 10 questions split into 3 sections, and yeah, I just think it's a really fun tag. So let's get into it. As usual, when I do tags, I have got my laptop here with the question on the screen, so that's where I'm looking, because I can't remember questions. I would forget the start of a question by the time I got to the end of it. So let's do this. So round 1 is making reviews. Where do you post your book reviews outside of BookTube, e.g. Goodreads, social media, retailers, blogs, etc.? Okay, so I always post a review for every single book that I read on my Bookstagram account, which is What Victoria Read. It's always linked in the description. I always post a photograph of the book and then I post my review underneath. My reviews are always spoiler free. And I also always put content warnings on those reviews. I then copy and paste those reviews onto Goodreads, or I have been this year. Last year I didn't put a single review on Goodreads, I just did a star rating. And I'm not quite sure why I didn't just copy it across on Instagram, but I didn't, but I'm trying to be better at it this year. So those are the 2 places where I leave reviews. I will also then share, once I posted on my Bookstagram, I will share that story, share that post onto my stories where I will give the star rating. I don't tend to leave the star rating on the reviews. Yeah, so there's those 2 places. This year I also want to get a lot better at leaving reviews on Amazon, because I know that it really helps authors, but at the moment I just do Goodreads and Bookstagram. Question 2, what is your star rating system? So I have talked about this before in other videos, but I use the 5-star rating. I don't do half stars or quarter stars, I just pick a star. So for me, I hardly ever give 1-star review. If it's a 1-star, I've probably DNF'd it, which is also something that I do if I'm not enjoying a book. If I get to about 100 pages in and I'm just not excited to pick it up, I will DNF it, which I do quite regularly. I've only DNF'd 1 book so far this year at the time of filming, and I think that's because I'm getting better at choosing the books I want to read. So I hardly ever give a 1-star because I usually DNF before I get to that point. 2 stars will be, I finished it, but I didn't enjoy it, so I might have finished it because it was a buddy read, or it was a book for a video or something, but it just didn't work for me. It was boring, or it was offensive, or yeah, it just wasn't for me. 3-star is a perfectly adequate read. I quite regularly give 3 stars and people are like, oh, you didn't like that book? I'm like, yeah, I did. A 3-star book is a book I enjoyed, I just didn't love it. So I quite often give 3 stars to thrillers where it's just, it's okay. It was an enjoyable reading experience. It didn't set my world alight, but it didn't make me want to throw it out the window either. So that's, for me, is 3 stars. 4 stars is a book I really enjoyed that I will probably push on everyone in my life, in my real life and my online life. Those are usually the books I talk most about. And yeah, they're always books I thoroughly enjoy, but they just didn't have a little extra something. And then for me, 5 stars is it's perfect. I wouldn't change a single thing. I want to reread it immediately. I want to read the author's entire backlist. Everyone else in my life needs to read it. Shout it from the rooftops. This year I'm trying to be a bit stricter on the books that I'm giving 5 stars, just to make them a bit more special and make them stand out a bit more. But I am quite an emotional reviewer, so I don't really think about too much. I don't really think about like literary value or any of that. If I've enjoyed it, I'm giving it 5 stars, even if it was maybe not the best written thing in the world, which I'll put in my review, but I very much go on how I feel about the book when I'm reviewing. Question 3, convince me to read a favourite book of yours in no more than 5 words. So for this one, I have gone for, where is it? Here it is. I've got so many copies of this book. You can see 2 of them in just in this bit. Yeah, 2 of them or 3 of them? 2, but I've got several. So one of my favourite books is The Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood, which I've talked about at length, and it's very well known. But I did write this down because I didn't want to I knew if I tried to do this on the spot I would fail. So my 5-word, what was it? Convince me to read a favourite book of yours in no more than 5 words. So everything in this has happened. Read it. She didn't make any of it up. I mean, she made the story up, but all the stuff that is in here has happened somewhere in the world or in history. Questions 5. Are there any books you won't review or give a star rating out of principle? No. If I've read it, I'm going to review it. I know some people don't review middle grade or kids books because you're not the intended audience. But if I've picked up a book and read it, I'm going to give my review. I can't think of any books. There was one book last year that I didn't give a star rating because I found it so offensive and I didn't want to contribute in any way to that book. And that book was Alice Feeney, I Know What You Did, I Know Who You Are, something. I'll put it in the description. It just really offended me. I will also link the wrap up where I reviewed it so you can see what I had such a problem with. But there are some books that like, there's not many, but there's some where I'm like, I don't want to be anywhere near that book at all, and then I won't give stars. But everything else, if I read it, I will review it. Okay, question 4, which book was the hardest to review and why? So I haven't got a specific book for this, I've just written down a few notes here. I haven't got a specific book here, but if I have been gifted a book or sent a book by a publisher and I didn't enjoy it, I will really struggle with how to review it. And I think with the gifted books, it's because I feel bad. I'm just knocking over books. Oh, that's good. Giant pile of books on the floor now. Lovely. Yeah, I think with gifted books, it's because I feel bad that someone has spent their money to send me something, which is always so wonderful. And then if I don't like the book, I feel really guilty. And the same with books and publishers. Like, I will always give an honest review, and I do always give an honest review even if I didn't like the book. Like the one book that I've DNF'd this year was sent to me by a publisher, and I was very clear in my review as to why it didn't work for me. But I do struggle a lot more if it's been gifted or sent, because it's just like, oh, this is awkward. Like if I've spent my own money and I didn't like it, well, that's my own problem. But yeah, I always feel bad if it's a book that somebody else has sent me. Question 5. Oh, I already did that one. I've just done these questions in a totally different order, so ignore me. Right, section 2, viewing reviews. 6, a book you want to read that has a book you really want to read has terrible reviews. Do you still read it? Yes. Yes, I will. If there is a book that I think sounds like it's my kind of thing, I will read it irregardless of other people's reviews, because as we know, reviewing books is completely subjective. Taste is subjective. And it might be that something that didn't chime with somebody else is exactly my kind of thing. I always watch and enjoy people's like worst books or most disappointing books of the year every year. They're usually some of my favourite content of the year, partly just because I like to see kind of salty rant reviews, can't lie, but also because I've picked out a few books so from some of those that I've then really enjoyed. So no, other people's reviews wouldn't put me off. I think the only thing, if somebody reviewed a book and said it was problematic in some way, then I would hesitate to pick it up, and I'd probably contact that person to get a bit more information. And then if I still wanted to read the book, I would probably do it in a way that was like free, so like from the library, or if someone was unhauling, because I wouldn't want to financially support a problematic author. But yeah, a book in general having bad reviews won't put me off if I'm interested in the premise. Question 7. Where do you review books outside of BookTube, and where do you view book reviews outside of BookTube, and what is your preferred format? I don't often look at reviews before I read a book on Goodreads. I get quite a lot of recommendations obviously from BookTube and Bookstagram and Book Twitter, so usually I see somebody talking about a book, I will put it onto my wish list, and then I will once I've read books, I will then do an order from that wish list, which is sort of like my TBR really, or like my want to read list. And also occasionally you lovely people and my friends will send me a book, which is it excites me every time. I genuinely do a little jig every time that happens. So usually by the time I come to pick the book up, I've forgotten A, who recommended it, and B, why it was on that list. So I tend to go into books fairly blind by the time I come to pick them up. I don't look at Goodreads until I've read the book itself, which is the next question, so let's not answer that. But yeah, I just tend to go on reviews or like recommendations from the book community, and I won't look at reviews before I've read it. So question 8, at what point do you view reviews of books that you are reading before, during and after, and do you seek out reviews similar to your own or opposing? So I will look at reviews after I've read the book. Sometimes if I'm struggling with my star rating, because I don't do half or quarter stars, so I have to pick a number, if I'm struggling a little bit with how I'm feeling about it, that's the point at which I will read reviews, just to reflect a little bit on my own thoughts and where they land, because other people's rating can be helpful with that for me. And do I seek out similar reviews to your own or opposing? I have to be honest, I'm not a massive one for reading book reviews. I prefer to watch them or like see them on Instagram, like short reviews on Instagram. If by the way, if a review is really long, I just won't read it. I spend too much time reading off a screen for work, so I don't tend to read really long book reviews, but I like to get a kind of sense of how people are feeling about it. Question 9, which book have you read with the lowest rating on Goodreads that you have loved? So I had a little look on Goodreads, which is not my favourite format or platform because we all know how janky it is, but this book had an average star rating of 3.25. I read it at the end of last year, December. I've got a reading vlog for it, so I'll put that in the description. And I gave it 5 stars. I loved this book. And that book was Blue Ticket by Sophie McIntosh. Now, I can understand why some people won't like this book, because it's literary fiction, it's feminist fiction, it's feminist dystopian fiction, so it won't quite be for everyone. I adored this book, and you can see all of my like raving reviews on that reading vlog that I did. But this is set in a dystopian world where on the day of their first bleed, all girls have to go and get a lottery ticket, and if you get a white ticket you are destined to be a mother, and if you get a blue ticket you are not having children and you are considered to be free. And this follows a woman, is she called Calla, I think? Yes, a girl called Calla who gets her ticket. She gets a blue ticket, and it's about what happens if the life you're given is not the life that you wanted. And I thought this was fantastic. I read it in a day. I cannot wait to reread it. Definite 5 stars. Goodreads disagrees, which is fine because, like I said, this is all subjective. And then finally, which book have you read with the highest rating on Goodreads that you hated? Now, I could not get Goodreads to work for me. Like I said, it's super janky to work this out. However, there is one book that is incredibly popular on Booktube, which I read and I was bored senseless, and that was 6 of Crows by Leigh Bardugo. So I have a feeling that had I been able to get Goodreads to work, that is the book that would have come up. I think I gave it 2 stars when I read it. And I know it's a Booktube darling, so probably all of you hate me now, but I just didn't care what was happening and I couldn't get into it. So yeah, that is the one for me that's like, thanks but no thanks. Okay, finally I'm going to tag 3 people whose book reviews I really rate, because I would love to see their opinions on this. First of all, Charlotte from Books and Bargains. Also, I'm going to tag Aoife from Words of Clover, and I'm going to tag Olivia Savannah from Olivia's Catastrophe. The 3 of you are people whose reviews I always trust, and I would love to see you do this tag. So I hope you have enjoyed this tag today. Please subscribe if you haven't already and you would like more of this chaos, and I will see you in the next one. Thanks guys, bye.